Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow. I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow. I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow.
If you don't have it, you are truly missing it.
What's up? I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow. I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow. I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow.
If you don't have it, you are truly missing it.
What's up? We are talking about Fiction Ink Flow. What's up?
If you don't have it, you are truly missing
Fiction
it.
Ink Flow. What's up? We are talking about Fiction Ink Flow. What's up?
If you don't have it, you are truly missing
Fiction
it.
Ink Flow. What's up? We are talking about Fiction Ink Flow. What's up?
If you don't have it, you are truly missing
Fiction
it.
Ink Flow. What's up? We are talking about Fiction Ink Flow. What's up?
If you don't have it, you are truly missing
Fiction
it.
Ink Flow. I'm your host Joseph. Fiction Ink Flow.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Joseph. This is Fiction Ink Flow, and I am coming at you live today. I'm talking about everything X-Men. So I hope you got all your knowledge ready to just nerd out on X-Men, talking about the comics, the movies, everything. Great to see a couple people in the chat already. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you. All right, we're going to jump right into it. So the X-Men have always been one of my favorite groups. Like growing up, that was the first group that I connected to. So I used to love reading their books. Started back like in high school. So like the different characters, their powers kind of made me just feel different about comics. So I kind of had this part where I was struggling, learning about different things. And so like I wanted something that kind of connected to me. And the X-Men was that book. And the reason why, because I said these are a group of people who are hated and feared because of their powers and their abilities. So this like reminded me of like racism. You know, like I said, wow, this is like a good paradigm of what's going on in real life. So I just dove heavy into that book when it first came out. So I want to kind of let you all know about some of my favorite characters and my favorite pops from the X-Men movie. So the X-Men movie came out in like early 2000s. We had been waiting for Marvel to do something ever since The Amazing Spider-Man. So they were like, okay, the X-Men is going to come out. We're going to do this. And at the time, Marvel had sold the rights of the X-Men to Fox. So Fox Studios were the ones who were putting the movie out. So, you know, they had all these actors that some of them we had not heard of before, like Hugh Jackman. He was an unknown in Hollywood for the most part at the time to play Wolverine. And at first he got a lot of criticism because they said, well, wait a minute. In the comics, Wolverine is a short, tough guy. He's always been known as being small. And the guy who's playing Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, he's 6 foot something. I'm like, well, this is not going to work. But look at what happened. He has become the best version of Wolverine that we've had thus far in the movies. So the whole X-Men thing started with Professor X. He is the one who created the X-Men. So I want to go and give you a couple little things about him. All right, we are talking X-Men movie pops. Okay, so Professor X, the leader of the X-Men. This is the first pop that I got. All right, he is in his wheelchair, which he's known for. And Professor X has this really cool power. He has telepathy. He can read the minds of anyone and everyone on the planet. All right. He is one of the smartest people we know. All right. So Professor X doing his thing. There it is. Nice up close and personal. He's known for having that bald head. A little quick history on Professor X. So as a young person, he kind of started to develop these abilities and he didn't know what was going on. He would have all these headaches and problems. And then one day he started hearing all these thoughts and just hearing people talking. And he couldn't realize what was going on. And so he did some research and he figured out that he was a mutant. He had this gift that came from his biology, right? So mutations are actually real in science, as you all may know. And it comes from some kind of genetic, difference. So some natural things that are mutations that we have now are freckles, right? Those are genetic mutations. All right, so something I have like with my fingers, you can look. My thumb, my pointer finger, pinky, it's not straight, it's kind of curved. That's a genetic mutation. So he was researching all these things and realized that, well, I wonder if there are other people in the world like me. So he started doing the research and found that there were a couple of people like him. And then as he kind of got further into it, he realized there were people all over the world with this ability. It just hadn't come out yet. In the comics, they explained that mutations don't start usually until puberty. So people are usually not born with the mutation. It usually happens during puberty or some really highly stressful event. So that's when they come out. All right. And he went on a search and he gathered these people that he saw with these powers and abilities and decides to make a group. And that's where we get the X-Men from. It comes from his name, Charles Xavier. Right? His last name is Xavier, so he just called them his X-Men. Right. So his opposing force was his one-time friend, Eric Langshier, better known as Magneto. So he was one of the first people he found that had the same mutant abilities. So he was like, wait a minute, you have these powers too. And Magneto is a character that has the ability to control metal. Right? He could move it and manipulate it any way he wants to. And this is how he appeared in the movie. Now, at the time, this was like one of the baddest outfits because, like, okay, it looks pretty cool with his cape, with his signature helmet. And people wondered, why did Magneto wear this helmet? Well, the helmet stopped Professor X from reading his mind. So he was like, Charles, I love you. You're a good friend of mine, but I don't want you in my head all the time. So this helmet stops psychic attacks. And that's what he developed it for. So Magneto's power came out during puberty too. He was a young kid. He comes from Jewish heritage, and it was doing like concentration camps. And he like rebelled against it, and he kind of like yelled out and didn't want to be put or separated from his family. And the gates started moving. This is what they showed in the movie as well. So he started to realize at that point he had a gift, and he started to use it. So Professor X and Magneto worked together for a while, looking around the world, gathering mutants up, but they came to some disagreement. So Professor X said basically mutants and humans need to work together. So we need to have this kinship. Like we can help you, you can help us, we'll better each other. And because of the way Magneto was treated as a child, and he realized all the hate from being a mutant, like people just hated him and hated the mutants, like they think they didn't belong. He was like, you know what? We are superior to everybody. We should therefore run everything. So he was like, you know, you are our inferior. You should bow down to us. And that's when they came to disagreements. And so they are basically flip sides of the same coin. Fun fact, the creators, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they said that the reason they looked at, the mutants is because, or looked at Professor X and Magneto, they modeled them after Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And they were both flip sides of the same coin too. One was more nonviolent and wanted peaceful resolution, but because of racism and started like civil rights. Whereas the other, which Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. We need to get the things we deserve by whatever means necessary. And those became the models for Magneto and Professor X. So here they are together, both these people opposing sides. Now, you may look at them now and just say, wow, I see how they look. But they have changed dramatically since the beginning when they first debuted in the comics. So the Professor X and the X-Men debuted in 1963. I'm rocking my Professor X and Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters here. 1963 is when they premiered. Now they look a lot different today. They're actually friends again, and they're working on the same side currently. But this is Professor X now. If you can see, gone are the days of him in a wheelchair. So he can actually walk upright again, and he uses his power to kind of help hold him up. And he is actually carrying a version of Cerebro on his head. The Cerebro is a device that helps him see other mutants all around the world. So it allows him to reach further than he could just naturally, because naturally he can pick up people like within a certain mile radius, but Cerebro enhances his powers. So now he has a Cerebro that's not attached to the machine at the mansion. He just wears it all the time. He's able to connect with any mutant around the world. All right. Because some of you had asked me before about some of my comic books as well as some pops. So I thought I would do you all a favor and do both. Show you some of my favorite X-Men pops and some of my favorite X-Men books. Here is Magneto today. Magneto now has changed his outfit. He's rocking this all white. Kind of almost like a change of who he is. Like, I'm a little good now. I'm still willing to do what I need to do, but I'm working with Professor X and all the X-Men. And that's what they're doing now. They're working together. Okay, so now we're looking at now into the X-Men themselves, Professor X students that he trained up personally. So one of his best students and like leader is Cyclops. Now Cyclops is a mutant that has the ability to shoot these lasers out of his eyes. Now a lot of people thought his lasers were like burn, they were hot. They're not. They're actually something that's a little bit different. They're like concussive blast, so they don't necessarily burn, but they can knock stuff out. It's like a force blast. Cyclops has to wear this visor to stop his powers from going. So Cyclops' mutant abilities is kind of like a curse as well as a gift. So he wears this visor of ruby red quartz, and it allows him to keep his eyes open without the laser shooting out. So normally, if he opens his eyes, they just don't stop. They constantly come out. Now that's his mutant ability, but that's not how it always was. Okay, Cyclops was going to be able to control his ability. But when he was a young boy, he was flying in an airplane with his father and his brother, Havoc, who was a later member of the X-Men. And the plane caught on fire, and the father had one parachute, and he put it onto Cyclops and told him to hold his brother, and they need to go. And of course, they didn't want to. They didn't want to, leave their father. But he was like, you all are more important. So they jumped out. And as Cyclops jumped out of the plane, he hit his head against the plane, and it damaged a part of his brain that would have allowed him to control his power. So that's kind of crazy. So normally he would have been able to open his eyes regularly and just see without having to shoot it out, only with his willpower. But now, because of that part of his brain was damaged, he is unable to. He needs that ruby red quartz in his visor to stop it from going out. So I used to always think when I was reading the books before, like, how does he sleep? Does he have to wear that all the time? Because if he takes it off and he goes to sleep and opens his eyes, he's burning up, shooting up the bed and everything around him. But yes, he has to wear it all the time. And when he takes it off, in order for it not to fire, he actually has to close his eyes. So that's like a blessing and a curse to be Cyclops. Here's a book that I got from Marvel Collectors Corps years ago when they gave exclusive comic books. And I have a cover of a book called The Champions. It was a young group of heroes working together. And it's the actual Funko Pop version of Cyclops on this cover. Check it out. One of my favorite covers in that Funko Pop version. All right. This one is hard to find. You can only find this one probably on eBay, or if you actually collected the Marvel Collector Corps back in the day. Otherwise, you will not see this cover anywhere. I'm still waiting to go to the comic convention and get it signed by the person who wrote the book, but it haven't appeared at the comic conventions I've been to yet. Moving right along, Cyclops was one of the original members, along with one of the first female original members, which is Jean Grey. Jean Grey has had many names over the years. Originally, she went by Marvel Girl. That was her first code name. And she was a love interest for Cyclops. They kind of got together and they kind of got into a relationship, on again, off again. And eventually they got married. They had been together for so long that they eventually got married in the comics, and they have been a couple ever since. So Jean Grey has gone through a lot. She has the same powers as Professor X. So she has telepathy, but she also has telekinesis, which means not only can she read minds and control people with her mind, she could also move objects with her mind. Now, Jean Grey is considered to be an Omega level mutant. So Omega level mutants are extremely powerful. Even Professor X is not an Omega level mutant. So these mutants have the potential to do almost anything, and she is one of them. And one of the times where she was able to do that was when Jean Grey got the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is this all-powerful entity that all it wants to do is destroy. So during the time period in the X-Men when they were fighting in outer space, the Phoenix Force always comes every so often and looks for a host. And they look for the most powerful person to inhibit. So what happened is the Force came and it read Jean Grey at the time as the most powerful force on the planet. And they got into her body and they merged with her. And she had the Phoenix Force. And she was doing amazing things with this power. She can take out anybody. She was almost invulnerable. She was just doing almost anything she wanted to do, and no one could stop her. Now, you would think that she would be doing a good job as an X-Men with this. Well, something happened that kind of twisted it up. Later on, she got turned around to the dark side by this evil villain named Mastermind. He was one of Magneto's crew, and he was manipulating her and was convincing her to be evil. And when that happened, Jean became the Dark Phoenix. And the Dark Phoenix was killing almost anybody. She was destroying people on planets, going place to place. And so they had to actually put her down. There was a trial, and they had to like see what they wanted to do. And Jean Grey actually died because of the Phoenix Force. So this is the Jean Grey pop in her Phoenix, well, starting to go into her Dark Phoenix form. I love the way this pop is done. You can check it out. It is really stylized. It has her hair flared. You can see the rippling effect across her face where her like she's cracking, and she's starting to become the Phoenix. She's not full Phoenix yet. She's on the way, but this is like when her dark side started coming out. They did an excellent job with the detail in this pop. Like her coat is flared. Like I said, her hair and her hands, and she's like floating up. And this is what was happening in the movie as well. You saw those movies. Drop me a comment below. What did you think about those original X-Men movies? There were 3 total, and then they kind of did some more branch off series. So let me know if you really enjoyed those. Were they okay for you? What were some of your favorite parts? Once again, leave it in a comment below. I would really love to hear your opinion. So here's a book I got where Jean Grey came back as the Phoenix at one point because she died, and then she was brought back. The Phoenix Force resurrected her, and they had a whole series about what happened when the Phoenix Force brought her back. And I actually got this book signed at a comic convention. Check it out. So that's Jean Grey and her full Phoenix Force. It's called Phoenix Resurrection. I got it signed by the artist, and I got it signed by the author. So I got 2 signatures on this one. It was a lucky find. I was able to get this signed at the convention. All right. So tell me, what are some of the things that you know about some of these characters that I've shown so far? Who are some of your favorite X-Men? What did you like about them? What are some things that you would want to know more about with the X-Men? Drop me a comment below, and I'll let you know what I can get. All right, now next up is another one of Professor X's original X-Men. It's Beast. So better known as Hank McCoy is his real name. Now, Beast has this really interesting power. He kind of is really bulky, and he has this incredible vice-like steel grip. So he's real agile too. And you may have seen him in the movie and the comics, and Beast is usually kind of furry and blue, looks like a beast. That is not his original form. So his original form is a human, but like just a really big, oversized human. In the comics, it started off that he was going to this high school, and he was like a football star. He was an athlete. And he kind of was believed to be this big jock, like stereotypical dumb jock. But he is highly intelligent. Beast is the only X-Men character that I know who has 7 PhDs. He majors in genetics, and he's always trying to figure out a way to either help mutants or reverse the mutant order so he can change those that suffer from their mutations. So some of the mutants, especially the ones in the X-Men, seem to look kind of like humans, and they are more natural. But there are some mutants where their mutation kind of totally transforms their body. They may have powers, but they don't like how they look because of it. So Hank was always working, trying to figure out how he can kind of reverse it and still maybe allow people to keep their powers. So he was experimenting with himself one time because he didn't want to test it out on anyone else. And when he injected himself, he actually transformed into like another form of his mutation when he started to grow the hair that we are normally used to seeing him in. If you remember the 90s X-Men cartoon, it's actually out on Disney Plus. It's a very good show. I suggest you watch it if you never have. You can kind of get a sense of how Beast is. He's always this happy-go-lucky, intelligent guy bouncing around, helping when he can, and really strong, but also reserved at the same time. So here is Beast from the X-Men movie. This is how he looks in the movie. You see he's reading. He got his full fur hanging out, you know, just looking, chilling like he always does. One of my favorite parts in X-Men 2 is where he premiered, was when he actually got into the fight. So I know he was going, it was a lot of people fighting some of Magneto's people, and Wolverine was like, we need some help. And so he kind of just went, I could say, beast mode, and he just wilded out and was taking out a lot of people. And Wolverine just looked at him. He was like, well, you know, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And there is Beast from the X-Men movie. Now, his original outfit, I didn't like too much. In the cartoon, in the animated series, and in the comics for a while, he just basically wore some briefs. That was his outfit. And I was just like, he needs more on than that. But because of his agility, he needed to be able to move and be flexible. It's reported that he is so strong that he can find cracks in the wall and grip them like a metal vise with his feet so he can hang on. That's why he's always like crawling upside down, walking around and doing things. Once again, very agile. So he's a really good character. Now, at first I didn't like Beast that much, but the more I read the books, I started to enjoy his character because he kind of provided this sense of intelligence and action. So I love the duality that the character presented. He was like really smart and agile. The next character we're going to go to is another member. Now, this member of the X-Men, one of my favorites, but was not an original member. So with the original X-Men, you had Professor X, Jean Grey, Iceman, Cyclops, and Angel. Those were the original X-Men. So Angel's a guy, he had wings and he could just fly. That was his power. And what happened in the comics is that this original group went to go take this threat on this island called Krakoa. And so when they went to Krakoa, they had to fight this threat and they were like, didn't know what was really happening. They disappeared. Professor X lost connection with them. He couldn't reach them by communication on the walkie-talkies, nor could he reach them with his telepathy. So he's like, what am I going to do? I don't know what happened to my X-Men. I can't get there. So he recruited a new group of X-Men. And that was a book called Giant Size X-Men #1. And in that group, it was the first like multicultural group of people. So we had Wolverine introduced in there, who is Canadian. We had Colossus, who's Russian. So Colossus has the ability to kind of turn into this giant. He turned his skin into organic metal. So his whole skin is metal. And when he's in his metal form, he doesn't need to eat, sleep, and he can survive in space. You had Banshee, who is Scottish, kind of going off the Scottish legend, who has sonic scream, who can hurt people with that sonic blast as well as fly with that. You had Thunderbird, which was not a well-known character because they've been here and there for a while. Thunderbird was Native American, and he has superhuman strength and speed and ability. And you had Storm. Storm is African, and she had one of the most original powers I have yet to see anyone copy or emulate. It's the ability to control the weather. And you think, what is she going to do with that? Normally she tends to have lightning, and she may have some stuff like hurricanes or winds, but she can control all weather. And here is Storm, as she appeared in the X-Men movie, played by Miss Halle Berry herself. All right. And Storm was one of my favorite X-Men characters. As you may or may not know, in the comics, Storm is actually at one time got married to Black Panther. And they were a couple. And they were going really strong. They were like the most powerful couple in Africa. You got Black Panther, you got Storm. It gets no better than this. But their marriage did not last. So they are now trying to rekindle what they lost. But Storm has always been a strong leader. She's always had this gumption about her that lets her do anything she wants, and she just holds the whole team down. So as Cyclops is the main leader, Storm is the second in command. So at one point in time, there were so many X-Men, they had to kind of break it off into two teams. It's the blue and the gold team, and Storm led the blue team while Cyclops led the gold. Here is one of my favorite covers of Storm from the comics. Now, Storm has changed multiple times throughout her comic appearance. She's had many different looks, and she's actually kept up with more style than any other X-Men that I know of. And one of my favorite looks for Storm is her 80s punk rock look. And it's an unmistakable look for her. It's with a straight white mohawk and like these little rock outfits on. And a lot of people reference her when they look at one of their favorite costumes from the Storm over the years. She's had traditional African garb, all these different variations of her costume. And she's just been one of the baddest and best X-Men around ever, in my opinion. Next, I'm going to go with an X-Men villain that became a good guy. So one of Magneto's people, again, he had the thing called the Mutant Liberation Front. And he had recruited this one person named Emma Frost. And Emma Frost had telepathy just like Professor X. So he said, well, you have somebody on your team that's psychic, and I have another person, which is Jean Grey. I need somebody on my team that can kind of combat them. Because, of course, they can make people do what they want. So Emma Frost, also known as the White Queen, had the exact same ability. She could control people's mind, and she just did it real slick. But in the early 2000s, they kind of were changing the X-Men. They wanted to do something different, something really dramatic. And what happened is that they had some of these characters go through what they called a second mutation. So Emma Frost went through the second mutation. And in her second form, not only was she able to keep her mental abilities, she was able to turn her skin into a diamond hard shape. So I've shown this pop before, but I want to go right into the theme because this is Emma Frost in her diamond hard form. Now, when she's in this form, she's kind of like Colossus. She does not need to eat, sleep, and she can exist in different environments because it's all solid diamond. And she's like unbreakable in this form. This was an exclusive Funko Pop from Previews magazine from the Comic Fest 2017. So this is a hard one to find. That's her without the diamond form, right? With her normal form, and she's just using her telepathy. But when she what she called rocks up, she gets her bling on, she gets this diamond shape. So one of my favorite comics, not too long ago, like I said before, the X-Men have now got their own island called Krakoa. And that's the one that the mutants went to rescue the first group of mutants from. And on this island, they are allowing any mutant to come. So they are kind of like dominated the industry right now. They are advanced in medicine and just everything. And they actually have the power to come back to life while they're on this island. They discovered this power. They found out that certain mutants, when they're put together, their powers form this synergy. And so like if they die, they're able to resurrect them. And since they have all these telepaths on the island, they're able to kind of like use they store their memories as like this, almost like a computer, like a hard drive. So when they die, they make their new bodies and they kind of in this husk and they burst out of it. And then they're all their old memories get put back into them right before the moment they died. And they're able to keep going. Now, the general public doesn't know this. So they're trying to keep it a secret. But I can only imagine what's going to happen when this comes out. Because they kind of like, if they don't have to worry about dying, how reckless are they going to be? They can go on missions and like, okay, I can die, but you just bring me back. And during this time recently, Emma Frost has kind of like taken over the public appearance for the X-Men on Krakoa. Like she's gone to, big events and talked about pharmaceuticals and getting stuff with banking and shipping. And so she held this big gala, kind of like the Met Gala in New York, but it was the X-Men Gala. And she had everybody wear these fancy outfits to announce this new venture of them stepping out into the public being the dominant species that they are. And so she had all these outfits made. And here's Emma Frost's diamond Met Gala outfit. It's sleek, right? But like you really get to look at that diamond form. All right. Oh, really cool. Next character is one that kind of has a big history and a connection with several other X-Men. This one has a family connection. So there's a related theme here. So I'm going to go with one of the first people. There's three characters that have a family theme going on. So the first is the Mutant Rogue. Now, Rogue has one of the most interesting powers, or unique, I say unique, not interesting, but one of the most unique powers I've ever seen from a character. This is the pop of Rogue as she appeared in the X-Men movie. All right. If you notice, like on the pop, her hands are covered. She has that glove taking it off right now, but most of her is covered. So Rogue has the ability, when she makes contact with anyone, physical contact, she is able to take their powers as well as their memories. So anyone she touches, she will actually have their abilities. The bad part, the longer she holds on to them, the more the connection she takes, and eventually she can actually drain them dry and put them in a catatonic state. So when Rogue first appeared in the comics, she was a villain, actually. She was working with another character, and she was like, using her powers to hurt people, take over and control and do all these other things. And she actually got to the X-Men, and they kind of convinced her, you should use your powers for good. But when her powers first developed, it was this guy she was in love with, right? She was a young kid in school, this boy named Cody. So she grew up in the South. She has a Southern accent, especially if you watch the cartoon, you can see that. She grew up and she was in love with Cody, and they were in a relationship. And finally, they were going to have their first kiss. So when she did kiss him, her powers developed. Once again, during puberty, her powers came full blast, and she actually put him in a coma. And he has been in a coma ever since. So she's really, from that time, she went around covering herself up, but she was hesitant to use her powers. But as she got older, she learned to control it a little bit and was able to use her powers more for good. So she doesn't have true control of her powers. She's able to use them, but she doesn't choose when to turn it on and off. But I have seen Rogue do some amazing things with her powers. One of the best things I ever seen her do was there was one time there was a rocket that was going off, and it had been filled with these spores that if they got released into the atmosphere, it would turn everyone into mutants, but also people who were not naturally mutants, it would disintegrate their DNA and kill them off. So they had to stop it. And the rocket was already taken off, and they were trying to stop it before it got launched, and they were too late. So what Rogue did, she went and she touched Wolverine, and she got his claws and his healing ability. She touched Nightcrawler and was able to teleport. Then she touched Colossus to get his organic metal skin. And so Colossus took her and he threw her, and she was going toward the rocket, and she was teleporting to get there. And then she popped the claws. So she was like going through space, like boom, 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 faster and faster. Finally, she made it to the rocket, and she was using the intermediate claws to just tear it up. And I was like, wow, I never knew that she could combine the powers and use them anyway. So Rogue, a good, powerful character, but also one of the ones that has a curse. So keeping this thing, I said there's a family connection. Just wait for it. So this next mutant is a villain. And I have to admit, I've always liked the character, but the way the character appeared in the X-Men movies was one of my favorite designs of her. So this character is Mystique. Now, Mystique has the ability to shapeshift. She can look like anyone that she sees. She's also able to mimic some of their powers, but not truly have the powers. So, for example, if Mystique was able to shapeshift into Wolverine, she could pretend like she has claws, but it's a part of her skin and bone. So her body and her chemistry change as well as her cells change, but she really doesn't have metal claws. It's still her. And even if she shapeshifts into someone with like really strong powers or really big, she doesn't get any stronger or bigger. So her cells allow her to heal from damage. So she's able to kind of survive for a long period of time. The aging process is slowed down dramatically because Mystique has been around for a long time, and she's pretty old, but she looks like someone in her early 30s. She's been around for almost 100 years or greater. And here is the pop of Mystique as she appeared in the X-Men movie. Now, one thing I really like about Mystique is that before, like her clothes would shapeshift with her, but the movie made it a little different. They gave her this like scaly look, kind of modeling off of like a snake or a chameleon, how they change their color. They use that to kind of display how she changes her shape. So one of the distinct things about her is her blue skin and red hair. Now, her true origin has never been revealed that I know of. So she's still kind of like a mystery character, like when she first gained her abilities and how she started using them. But I think from what she shared is that she has always had a difficult life. And so she was like, well, I'm not going to wait around to get what I want. I'm going to take it because I had this gift. And she's been doing that her whole life. So she kind of sided with Magneto because she's like, yeah, we are more powerful than humans. We are a superior race. We should lead. But I love the way they displayed her in the movie. Like this really agile person who could change into anyone and take on almost any look that she wanted to. Now, the only restriction, Mystique cannot turn into animals or creatures or things like that. It's only human forms that she can shapeshift into. So there is a limitation to her. The last person in this group of X-Men is Nightcrawler, another fan favorite and an absolute good character to go by. Nightcrawler has the ability to teleport. So he kind of has the same blue look as Mystique, which is a big hint there. All right. And he looks like a little devil. And it's almost an interesting contrast because people will see him. This is what I was talking about earlier about some characters who like have physical differences but have really good powers. So I know the first scene in X2 with Nightcrawler is sent in as an assassin to kill the president was one of my favorite action scenes. If you've never seen that, You should just look it up online. Just look up Nightcrawler from X2. The first scene, opening scene, it is really amazing, especially for the time period with the graphics and what they were able to do with it. All right, what's up, Diz Life? I see you. Thanks for joining the stream. Hey, Kathy, I appreciate you coming in. All right, so Nightcrawler is my homeboy. You can't get no better than him. I just always loved his look. You know, he's always known as the Blue Elf. He has this prehensile tail on him. And the thing is, he can control his tail just like any other appendage, like his arm. So usually he uses his tail as like sometimes he holds weapons in them. So he's a physical character. He's really agile as well as some of the other ones. But Nightcrawler also has like a swashbuckler. He loves pirates and he loves fighting. So sometimes he'll have a sword in each hand and one in his tail. He's really quick with the weapons. So really cool look. Yeah, Nightcrawler was one. Yes, he is Christian. He does believe in God. That's the thing. That was the contrast. He looks like a devil, but he is a Christian. He like has a really strong faith. I think he has the most faith out of any X-Men. And I think he struggled with that duality because of how he looked. Now, Nightcrawler's father is a demon. And that's what kind of gives him his look. And when he teleports, they've always talked about in the comments how you smell sulfur. And I used to like, well, what does that have to do with anything? And I read a book where they kind of talked about what happened or where he goes. And every time he teleports, he leaves this smoke behind, right? So what happens is that when he teleports, he actually goes to a dimension of hell and comes out. So that's what happens. He goes into that dimension and pops out. And that's where the sulfur smell comes from, and that smoke, because he's pulling out of the dimension, and that's the leftover effect. And I was like, oh, man, that is really cool. And to really see that. Now, one of my favorite books. What's up, Diz? Like, thank you again. Appreciate you joining the stream. Yeah, it is really weird. Thank you, Will. I see that it is weird. One of the things I really loved in one of my favorite books, there was a time period called Age of Apocalypse, where going back to my man, Professor X has a son. His son's name is Legion. And he has a real reason why he's called Legion. Legion is a name of a character from the Bible. Right, he's like Legion. It's a story. I don't want to get into a whole bunch of detail, but Legion was a person who was possessed by many different devils. And one of his famous quotes, like, "I am Legion, we are many." And so the reason he named himself Legion, because he has dissociative identity disorder. So he has multiple personalities. And the crazy part is that each personality had a different power. So one personality could have firepower. One could be telepathy. One could be this, and it's like there's no limit because he has a bunch of different personalities, and each one has a different ability. So he's always had a strange relationship with his father, and Professor X never really raised him. He was kind of raised by his mom, and he was kind of in the system, but he knew who his father was, and he tried to help him, but he can never control his mind because he was just too powerful. So what happened is that Legion said, "I never had my father around. And all this stuff happened because of Magneto." What's up, Marsh? Appreciate you joining me. And he said, if I go back in time, if I kill Magneto, then I can have time with my father. So that's what happened. Legion went back in time, and he planned on killing Magneto. Now, remember, when he went back, this is when Magneto and Professor X were still friends. So he appeared, and they had not found any other mutants except themselves. So like, what's going on? Who is this person? He was like, "I'm your son from the future." And they got into this big argument, and Magneto tried to stop him. And Legion went to kill Magneto. But Professor X, being a good friend, jumped in front, and Legion actually killed Professor X. And he ceased to exist. And this caused this whole time lapse. And Magneto ended up raising the X-Men and starting them because of his friend. He ended up creating the X-Men. But also the villain Apocalypse came into power a lot sooner. And he kind of took over the world. And I'm saying all this because I wanted to know that Nightcrawler in this time, he was still a good guy, but he didn't mind killing. And one of the best scenes from Age of Apocalypse, Nightcrawler is fighting Deadpool. And Deadpool, has the power he has a healing ability too. And so they're going at it, sword against sword, fighting around, going boom, boom, healing. And so Nightcrawler was like, that's it. He was getting ready to die. He's like, I can't take this anymore. He teleports on Deadpool's shoulders, grabs his head, then teleports off. So he decapitated him. And that's the surefire way to kill Deadpool because he cannot regenerate his whole body. Deadpool can regenerate body parts, but once you sever the head, he's gone. And that was like the illest thing I ever seen Nightcrawler do, or read that Nightcrawler did. So that was one of the fun parts about it. That's why Nightcrawler became one of my favorite characters. But taking a step back, going back to his family connection. So what's the big deal with the family? So we got Mystique, who's blue. We got Nightcrawler, who's blue. Remember I said how Nightcrawler's father is a demon? Nightcrawler's mother is Mystique. Yes, she is his mother. And she actually abandoned him as a baby. So she was going around as a human. And she decided that she fell in love with this guy. He was looking like a human too, but he was actually a demon. And what happened when she got pregnant, she had the baby, and when she saw the baby, she rejected everybody's scream. So she kind of did it like Noah. She took the baby, wrapped him up, and she actually gave him away. She like sent him in a basket down the stream. Yeah, so he was found. That's why he was an orphan and raised, like Nightcrawler was raised in the circus. And I guess that's why he had this faith, because they taught him to believe in God and believe in something because you were abandoned as a kid. Now, here's the other strange family connection. Marshall, like, whoa, what's going on? Yes, that is really crazy. So, Rogue, she was kind of raised on her own too. And eventually she found someone who kind of adopted her and raised her and taught her to be good, but yet had a secret, was teaching her really to be bad. The person who raised her is also Mystique. So this is the family. Rogue, Mystique, and Magneto. I'm sorry, and Nightcrawler. I'm about Nightcrawler. So Rogue and Nightcrawler are stepchildren. They are related. Yeah, Marjorie, this is some Old Testament type stuff. For real. That is true. That's facts. Yeah, they actually are related, which is a crazy thing. And that was revealed in a book called X-Men Unlimited. I have it, and I had it it's in storage, so it's tucked away. If you can find that now, it's probably going to be worth a lot of money, because that was the first time they revealed that these three characters were related. Hey, what's going on, Albert? Appreciate you joining in to the stream. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, it is real interesting. Real interesting. All right. So going right along with another one of my favorite X-Men is this character is a relatively new character at the time. So this character came out like in the 90s. I know that's long before right now currently. But this one character had this really interesting ability. I never seen anything like it. He was from the South as well. He's Cajun, so he's from Louisiana. And he was known as a thief. He grew up being a thief, taking things, and his abilities came about. And another one of my favorite. Thanks, Albert. Say now, everyone hit that like button. You are right. Don't forget to smash that like button, please. This character's name is Gambit. His real name is Remy LeBeau. So he grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, doing his thing. All these Cajun sayings. He really made that known in the cartoon on Disney Plus, and the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. All right. And I'm sorry, I just got a little distracted real quick. My whole family came in. Hey, everybody, just want to say, hey, family's here. All right. Gambit has the ability to charge objects with kinetic energy. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of science real quick. Yes, Marshall, Gambit, give you a little science. So potential energy, that's the power, that's the energy everything has at rest. That's potential energy. And kinetic energy is the energy you release when it comes out. So Gambit can actually charge anything, but he uses playing cards. Once again, he's a thief. He knows how to gamble. And the reason he said he uses playing cards is because they charge extremely fast, like in nanoseconds. He charges in nanoseconds. And so when he takes those cards and he can charge a whole deck in less than 10 seconds. So he charges those cards and throws them out, and they explode with a lot of power. So here's my pop of Gambit. This is another exclusive pop. It's from a place called Entertainment Earth. And if you can see why it's so exclusive, it glows in the dark. So if you can see that big blob, which looks kind of crazy, those are the cards he's throwing out that he's charged. And when I found out about Gambit, I'm not going to lie, there's a better picture of a drawing with all the cards coming out. And he uses also a bow staff. All right, Will, yeah, Gambit is one of my favorite too. He has his bow staff too. One of my favorite things to do when I found out about Gambit's powers, and I know this is me just straight up nerd now. So I'm like, how does he throw a card like across the room or across somewhere? So I used to get playing cards, and I see if I can throw them real far. Like I should just practice that and see if they would go far, to see how far I could do them. And I started to be able to get good at it because first they would just throw it, they would just fall on the ground. I was like, okay, I need to stop doing this. But I kept doing it, and I could see that they would go out really far. Like, okay, I get how you can do this. Now, going back to the comics, Rogue and Gambit are a couple. And I know you're like, well, how does that work since he can't touch her? True. He is in love with her and she loves him, but they cannot have any physical connection. Now, over the years, the powers have changed. And Rogue at one point in time was able to control her ability. And so they were able to have a physical connection. Hey, what's up, Zen? Welcome. Yeah, you did miss Jean Grey, but I'll put it back up for you. So this is Rogue and Gambit. And they actually had their own series for a while. Now, this book I'm going to show you, this is definitely a rare find. One time, like I had talked about before, my Marvel Collector Core box. And one time, Stan Lee had his own box in his life. So I was like, oh, I got to get Stan Lee's box. I don't care how much it costs. And in Stan Lee's box, there were no Funko Pops. There were no shirts, no pins. But each box had 5 exclusive comics with Stan Lee, either on it, on the cover, or in it some kind of way. And I got these. It was a limited time, and I got all of them before they stopped making this run. So this is the Rogue and Gambit issue number 1 with Stan Lee on the cover. So there we go. Oh, we got Rogue and Gambit. You see that little number 1, see that little variant symbol. It lets you know it's a variant. And Stan Lee signed it, but not official. It was like a stamp. But like they're playing poker, and you can see, of course, like, you know, Gambit, like, I got this. Rogue was like looking at them slide, and Stan, like, you know, I know all this stuff. I'm part of the people that created you. I can do this. Yes, Excelsior. Yes, there's like Excelsior. That was his line. All right, Stan the man. Okay. And I got to get to one of the most popular X-Men characters of all time. It's your boy, known and loved, Mr. Wolverine. So this is Wolverine in his tank top from the X-Men movie, right? In his full beard and his hair. Now, the thing is, when I was little, if you ever seen the original Wolverine, you know that costume, he has that same style. And I just thought that was part of the costume. When he first took off his cowl and revealed that his hair is like that, I was like, oh my God, how is that even possible? And I said, how is this going to translate into the movie? But they made it work. It's like some stuff, you know, just don't work in real life. But it did actually work. Here's a side view. Okay, with him popping his claws. Now, some knowledge about Wolverine. So Wolverine's mutant ability is healing, right? He has an amazing healing factor. You can cut him, shoot him, stab him, burn him. It'll all grow back. But if you if you cut off a body part, it will take time, but it will actually grow back. It'll take a long time, but it'll grow back. Now, Deadpool also has this mutant ability. That's his thing too. But I don't know if you knew this, but Deadpool and Wolverine have a connection. Another kind of, not a family connection, but it's a connection. So Wolverine was in this project called Weapon X. And Weapon X experimented on mutants to get and study their abilities. So when Wolverine was studied on, it was Wolverine, Sabretooth, Deadpool, and a couple other people. A guy named Maverick, and a couple of other ones. So when they were studying Wolverine, they put these people on them, they put them on missions. So they got into their head, they used some kind of psychotherapy to make them forget their memories and who they really were, studied them, got their blood work. And so Wolverine's healing factor was given to Deadpool. And the reason why Deadpool can grow whole body parts back, because Deadpool actually has cancer. He had like terminal cancer. And so when they bombarded, he was already a mutant, but they didn't notice. When they bombarded him with Wolverine's healing factor, basically, if you've ever seen Deadpool without his mask, he looks really gross. That's how his whole body looks, because basically the cancer is super activated. So he is constantly in a state of dying and healing because of Wolverine's healing factor. So that's why his skin got all messed up, because his cancer spread out and is killing him, but it's also healing at the same time. So a book came out a while ago called X-Men Origins. Wolverine Origins. And they kind of explained about Wolverine's claws. For years, they had never revealed what Wolverine's origins were. So he was known as Wolverine, he's known as Logan, he's known as Patch, and he just like, what is his real origin? Where did he come from? So what they did was talk about his beginnings. So Wolverine actually came from a wealthy family, like about 200 years ago. He was an old school wealthy family. And he was born to a wealthy father and mother, and he had a brother. Now, the wife, when she had his brother, he passed away. So they tried again and had Wolverine. And he was always sick. So as a kid, he was a sickly kid. He just never, grew up, and he's just always in the bed. And he had a best friend. So out in the fields, there was a person who worked the grounds. He was this mean guy. Now, the crazy part, this guy looked like Wolverine. I'm like, wait a minute. Why does he look so much like Wolverine? And he had a son. Never gave him a name. He just called him Dog. And he was like abusive to him. Beat him up, tell him he was worthless. And he hated working for Wolverine's family. So over time, he got jealous because he actually had an affair with Wolverine's mom. And that's where Wolverine came from. For years, like, what was going on? And so he was just tired. So he went to I don't like this anymore. And he went to kill the family. And as he was doing this, Wolverine screamed because his mother was actually killed during this incident. And he screamed and his claws popped out. His claws are actually made from bone. That's actually his mutation. We thought they were always metal. The metal got put on him. He has bone claws. So they're actually made from bone, and then the antimonium got put on him. That's why he was a perfect candidate for Weapon X, because he can heal from anything. No one else could put that antimonium on their bones and still survive with that on them. Yes, Will. It's crazy. It's crazy. So Wolverine is given like an extra 150 pounds because of that metal on his bones. So one of my favorite issues was X-Men number 25. They were going up against Magneto from the 90s. They were going up against Magneto. And Magneto was hurting everybody. He was Wolverine went to attack him. He's like, come on, dude, please. I can control metal. He's like, you can't do nothing to me. Wolverine was like, I don't care. He got into his bloodlust. He jumped at him and he sliced him across his chest. And Magneto was like, okay, you went too far. He grabbed Wolverine, hold him in stasis, and he just pulled at him. And once again, I told you that antimonium was fused on his skeleton, so it can't come off. Magneto pulled the antimonium out off his bones and through his skin. And that was the first time in the comics they revealed he had bone claws, because he popped them and he was just bleeding in the claws. I was like, what is claws with bone? They didn't give these to me. And as a result, Professor X wiped Magneto's mind clean. Now, this all had this trickle-down effect. Because Professor X wiped his mind, a little piece of Magneto got into Professor X. And Professor X became a villain known as Onslaught. And Onslaught was one of the baddest villains around. You should look him up. And actually, I'll go back to my cover of Professor X. This is Onslaught in the back. This is why it's called Onslaught Revelations. Because that was the form. If you notice, that helmet on Onslaught is very close to Magneto. That's why it looks like that, because it was like Magneto and Professor X combined. All right. So I have two more props I want to show you. One is a Marvel Collector's Core exclusive pop. And this is what they call a pop ride. So I got this in the Marvel box. It came with this shirt. And it came with this pop ride. So it's Wolverine in his traditional motorcycle. He actually can come off. We're like, whoa, this is a huge pop. And he's styling, got the claws popped out. Got one hand on the steering wheel like he is. Now, if you look at some old comics, you'll see something that you don't normally see with Wolverine. Wolverine used to be a heavy drinker and a heavy smoker. He used to always smoke cigars. And the reason he did this is because of his healing ability. He couldn't get drunk. And because he constantly healed, he could smoke a cigar and not affect his lungs. So that was his thing. So this is the Wolverine motorcycle, and you see some other characters. You got Storm, when I say with the Mohawk. That's the Mohawk look right there. You got Sabretooth, which is his arch nemesis. Cable, who was actually the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey from the future. You got Archangel. We talked about Angel, one of the original members, but then Apocalypse got a hold of him and worked on him and mutated him further. He became Archangel with these metal wings. You got Quicksilver, and you have Psylocke, who has another mental ability. And here's one of my favorite Wolverine comics. So Wolverine has died in the comic book. He's back alive now, but he did die. They managed to find a way to kill him. And actually, the way they killed him was kind of crazy. They encased him in antimonium. They brought him back to the Weapon X facility, had to fight a lot of clones of himself. And then, like, while the antimonium was running through the system, one of the other clones, like, cut it open, and all the antimonium dripped down on him. And he just kind of became encased in it. And there was a book called The Death of Wolverine. This was a really good cover. It's kind of like this 3D effect. And I got this one signed by the writer who wrote the book. So The Death of Wolverine, #1. By Charles Soule. That is the writer, and that is his autograph right there. All right. And last but not least, this pop is what you call amalgamation of characters. So at one point in time, recently, Marvel did a whole run of something called Infinity Warps. Well, I heard Infinity Gauntlet, but what are Infinity Warps? Well, basically, the stones were missing again. Thanos is not even in the picture at all. Gamora actually went to hunt down the stones. And she's like, I want to destroy them because I don't ever want Thanos to get them. I don't want nobody to get them. She went to go hunt him down. And when she found the stones, she was like, I don't know what to do. I can't keep them myself. I don't want anybody else to get them. So she kind of like fused them all together, and characters and worlds started warping together. So you had combinations of characters. So one of my favorite was a character called Arachnite. It was Spider-Man and Moon Knight from the new upcoming Disney Plus series. It's called Arachnite. You had X-Witch. It was X-23, which is a female clone of Wolverine and a Scarlet Witch. But you had all these combinations of characters that came about. But one of the craziest ones was called Diamond Patch. So it's Wolverine and Emma Frost. So think healing power. Instead of antimonium on his claws, he has rock hard diamonds. And he kind of got this white look, and he wears a patch. So this is from Infinity Warp's Diamond Patch. Some of the other Infinity Warp characters, like I said, Arachnite and X-Witch, you had Iron Hammer. So Iron Man and Thor combined. You had Soldier Supreme, which was Doctor Strange and Captain America. And you had Ghost Panther, which was Ghost Rider and Black Panther. There's another view of Diamond Patch with his diamond encrusted claws. I know those will be worth a lot of money. And these are the characters from the back, different warp characters. Now I have Iron Hammer and I have Arachnite. I'm still searching for Ghost Panther and Soldier Supreme, so I haven't got those yet. And my last book, I have to show you all, and I got this one signed too. There's a local Chicago artist. He no longer lives here. His name is Scotty Young. And what he does, he takes these characters, all the X-Men and any other Marvel character, and he draws them like babies. So there was a book a while ago. This is where actually Storm and Black Panther kind of broke up. It was the X-Men versus the Avengers. But Scotty Young did a version of it. It was called Little X-Men versus Avengers. And you can check out and see if you can identify some of these characters. I had them sign it. So let me know in the chat, who are some of the characters you see you know? All right. Thanks, Will. Appreciate you. Yeah, this is a good run. You can still find this in the store. You can find a graphic novel. It's like 6 issues of all the little X-Men and all the little Avengers in there fighting over each other. But one of the funniest scenes in it is Iceman is there, and they kind of keep it kiddie too. They're fighting with each other, and Thor uses his hammer and he throws it at Iceman and he breaks him. And everyone stops and looks on the ground, and you know, like kids, somebody going, ooh, and Thor like, I didn't do it. And he runs away. Yeah, it's like really crazy and funny. All right. We've come to the end, but not done all the way yet. A little bit of trivia time. A little trivia time going on. So I got a couple of questions for you all. Throw your answers in the chat. Let me know what's going on. So, first trivia question. Who is Professor X's villain stepbrother? He actually has a stepbrother, and he is actually a villain. If you think you know, throw it in the chat, in the comments below. Sorry. Nope. I see we're not Wolverine. Nope. No. Wolverine is good. It's a villain, though. It's a villain. I'll give you a hint. He's real big. Yeah, they did. I see you, Marshall. Yeah, they did do those in the 80s. So this was a little different. The 80s version of the kid characters come from another universe. So there's a character in Marvel Comics. They haven't put him in the movies. His name is Longshot. And he has kind of a power like Domino from Deadpool, where Domino has this luck ability, right? She kind of everything works for her with luck. And Longshot was the same way. Everything worked with him because of luck. And he is from a place called Mojo World. And Mojo World is, if you can imagine this, everything is done for entertainment. So the more they get people to stream and watch, kind of like what we're doing now, they will actually pay more attention and get more power. So in that universe, they said they had to fight the X-Men a lot. And when the X-Men left, they said, you know what? We want to make a show. So they created X-Babies. And that's the comic from the 80s, the X-Babies. They were baby versions of them. Oh, it looks like somebody got it. Yes, Zim, Juggernaut. The big Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut. I ain't going to say that last part, but you know that quote. But the Juggernaut is Professor X's evil stepbrother. All right, we got it. Good one, good one. Okay, next trivia question. Magneto. Who are Magneto's children? He actually has 3. 2 of them are twins, though. So, who are Magneto's children? No cheating, no looking up Google and all these search engines. Go see if you can figure it out. See if you can figure it out. Who are Magneto's children? And only one of them has a similar power to him. See what's going on in the chat. Anybody got it? What you think? What you think? All right. I'll give you a hint. So his children have appeared in the MCU. So they have actually been in some MCU movies. But they're not referred to as mutants. And that was because the whole legal thing with Fox and MCU. But they have actually appeared in the MCU, his children. Well, 2 of them at least, the twins. That's another hint. They're twins. 2 of them are twins. Oh, okay. She knows. Yes. The other Magneto, one of his daughters did appear in the show Gifted. Yes, that is very true. She was one of the main characters in the show. She has green hair. That's a hint with her. All right. I'll go ahead and give a couple of it away. Yep, green hair. Yep. So that character, her name is Polaris. And she was a member of a group called X Factor. So once the X-Men got too big, they started branching off into all these other groups. So you had X Factor, X-Force, the Uncanny X-Men, all these different groups because they got too big. There's just too many of them. So Polaris has the power to control magnetism just like Magneto. Anyone get any guesses about the twins? Once again, they have appeared in the MCU. All right. Another hint. They both appeared in different versions of themselves. Well, one was a different version of themselves in a Disney Plus series. So if you watch all the Marvel Disney Plus series, they appeared in that too. Go on. Look, there we go. My dog wants to make an appearance. I think he wants to guess. So Obi, you know the answer? What you think, Obi? All right. That I don't know if that's the answer. But all right, go hang out. No, Poison Ivy. Come on now. Producer K, you're killing me. That's DC. You got to get out of here. Come on, y'all. Producer K, come on. Okay. Yes, Wanda. So Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, is his daughter. What is her brother's name? Thank you. She knows you got it. See if anybody can come up with the brother. And he appeared in the show too, but at a different version. Vision? No, not Vision. Not Brother Vision. Vision. No, not Vision. Yes, Marshall for the win. Quicksilver. Quicksilver is her twin brother. Yes, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. They are related. Yes, those are his children. Now, recently, it was discovered that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are not his biological children, which is kind of crazy. It's actually Polaris is the only one that's his biological child. Quicksilver, my dog won't leave me alone. Sorry, y'all. This happens. We doing it live. This is what comes on. Oh. Go on, Obi. Go. There we go. So, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch actually were born from a Avengers villain called Wizard, which again, super speed, kind of like Flash. And Scarlet Witch is just a little bit different. She has chaos magic, so her powers don't really activate. Normally, she didn't really inherit them from anyone. So for a long time, that's why at first I was a little upset with the MCU because they made it seem like Scarlet Witch only had telekinesis, like she could move objects with her mind. That's not her true power. But Disney Plus kind of answered that. Her power is chaos magic, which means she really doesn't have control over it. Her power comes from a dark force. It's actually this, you don't even want to call him a demon because he's kind of been around since like the dawn of time. This entity called Chthon. And he was the creator of the book, The Darkhold. And The Darkhold is what he wrote, and it's written in blood. It's written in his blood. And he has been banned. He's banished from the regular universe, from the earthly realm. And he's always trying to find a way back. So Scarlet Witch is has a portion of his power. That's why her powers act the way they do. So if Chthon ever comes back, that's the end of everything. So part of her thing in the comics is trying to keep Chthon from ever coming into the earth. And recently, Marvel did a release of a series where Chthon was coming back called Darkhold. They kind of did a whole new series on it. And Dr. Doom, you know how his hubris is, he decided that he wanted to kind of go into the realm where Chthon was and try to steal his power. And it affected everyone. And so Scarlet Witch gathered a group of people to help her. She got Spider-Man, Blade, Wasp, and one more person I can't remember right now. But each of them had different lasting effects because they actually went to the Darkhold universe and came back insane. So that was pretty cool. All right. I will go over. Oh, I'm sorry. We got one more question. One more trivia question. See if we can go. Okay. Which X-Men character has died several times and have come back to life? Which X-Men character? It's not Wolverine, even though he seemed like he's been dead. He's only died once. But which X-Men character has died several times and come back? All right. One hint. It is a female character. It is a female character. See what you got. Throw up what you think in the chat. Another hint. It is, but no, that would give it away. But the character has been in some of the movies. Oh, Marshall. Okay, you got it. You on point. Yes, Phoenix, Jean Grey. Let me throw that back up there because I know Zim said he wanted to see it and you missed it. Yes, Jean Grey has died multiple times and have come back. Yes, using all of her Dark Phoenix powers. Yes, you are 100% right. Yeah, because the Phoenix entity won't let her die. So even when she goes to death, she won't let her die. But yep, Jean Grey. Yes. And fun fact, Jean Grey also has Jean Grey was cloned at one point. So there's a villain named Mr. Sinister. And it's rumored that he may be a main villain if when Marvel does, the MCU does their X-Men. And he's always been interested in genes and the study of, the evolution of genes. He's from the time of Charles Darwin with the theory of evolution. And he met up with Apocalypse, and Apocalypse changed him to allow him to always study genes. And he actually cloned Jean Grey. And her name is Madeleine Pryor. Now, she looks just like her, has psychic abilities, but she has something that Jean Grey doesn't. She has this connection with like these goblins. So she's also known as the Goblin Queen. And she was evil. So she had, like, when Jean Grey originally died with the Phoenix Force, she was buried. It was like underwater. She was in this like cocoon-like thing. And she was supposed to have come back. It wasn't the original Jean. It was actually Madeleine Pryor, her clone. And Cyclops, was so overwhelmed, and they kind of got together. They had a baby, which is Cable, that's where he comes from in the future. That clone and Cyclops had Cable. So Jean Grey is not his biological mother. It's Madeleine Pryor, the Goblin Queen, who is actually his biological mother. So it's kind of this weird family history. So there's a lot of family connections there in the X-Men that kind of get weird and interesting. Okay, that has been all for my trivia. So I wanted you to ask you a question. Who is your favorite X-Men? Who is your favorite X-Men character? Throw it in the chat. I know some people said Gambit. I had Jean Grey, Wolverine. While you're thinking about it and sharing that in the chat, I'm going to go over and just show you all the pops again. Yeah, Miss Gray, yes. I love it, yeah. Now, look, the hip-hop artist Jean Grey, she's deadly, too. I love her around. She can kill it. All right. So, starting back with the beginning, we have Professor X, the creator, the originator, the OG. Wouldn't be no X-Men without him. We have his nemesis, flip side of the same coin, Magneto. We have the first in command, the leader of the X-Men, Cyclops. Yeah, I see Deadpool. Deadpool is a fan favorite. Yes, for sure. Deadpool is a favorite. We have Jean Grey, which I just showed you, but of course I will bring her back. Jean Grey with her dark Phoenix power starting to arise. I love the design on this. Again, I can't get over it. We got the crackling of the Phoenix Force coming through on her face. The hair is flared. The skirt is flying up. She is about to go full Phoenix Force on you. We have Beast. All right, the super agile, very intelligent Beast. Okay, I got Storm. Yeah, Storm is the favorite for real. Yeah, I see other people think Kathy Storm. Yeah, Storm's one of mine. Okay. Storm, once again, played by Halle Berry. Did a good job for that one. Now, they did talk about at one point in time, since her powers are controlled by nature and everything, there was an issue I had once again, this X-Men Unlimited comic. The first issue, they were in their plane, the Blackbird, and they were going through like Antarctica and they crashed. And Storm kind of went crazy because she was trying to keep them warm in Antarctica. She was able to hold a spot where to keep them kind of warm, but it was taking everything out of her to not to use her powers to keep them alive until somebody came to rescue them. That was a very good issue. Also, they talked about what would happen. Sometimes her powers get out of control based on her. Like the one fear Storm has is claustrophobia. So when she kind of gets claustrophobic, sometimes she kind of can't use her powers or she kind of go extra hard with it. So somebody posed a question before, what if? What would happen if Storm was pregnant and she went through labor? How would that affect the weather? I don't want to know, but I think it'd be crazy. I think it'd be super crazy of how the weather would affect of her going through labor. All right. We got Mystique, the shapeshifter. Played by Jennifer Lawrence, and we got I forgot the other lady who played it. Rebecca Romaine Stamos, or Rebecca Romaine now, no Stamos. We got the White Queen, Emma Frost. Nightcrawler, one of the first design characters that I really love. Fun fact. Nightcrawler wasn't invented by Stan Lee. He was invented by another person who actually worked for DC. And you will be hard-pressed to find this book. Nightcrawler actually appears as himself in a DC comic book first. Because he was drawn in DC, and the person got fired or quit. I don't know. There's a rumor about what happened. And then started working for Marvel. and actually pulled that same character, which is like, how is that even possible? I guess because he only drew one issue, and DC was like, yeah, we don't care about this character, but big mistake because he became a fan favorite for Marvel. Got Rogue. The ability to take on anyone's power from physical contact. Now, in the 90s cartoon, Rogue has superhuman strength and she can fly, and she's super durable. And like, well, where did those powers come from? Because that just seemed like that was always her. Those powers came from when she actually fought Captain Marvel for the first time. She absorbed the majority of her powers. So her powers that display in the cartoon came from Captain Marvel. All right, Phoenix for sure. Yeah, Zim. Gambit, one of my personal favorites. All right, the power to charge objects with kinetic energy, and then they just blow up, they release. The fan favorite, the Wolverine, grimy. He always says, I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't nice. All right, so yeah, what is it, Marshall? Why is Adamantium never mentioned in the latest Marvel installments? I think because they're trying to find a way to blend it in. Because I think the issues with Fox, they hadn't brought it in yet. They were so focused on the vibranium. But there's always been a question, can vibranium go against antimonium? Because the antimonium is the strongest metal there is, it's unbreakable. Vibranium kind of like reflects and it vibrates so you can take things down. So I don't know what would happen if you had something combined with those two metals. I would love to see that. But I have seen issues where Captain America and Wolverine went at it and they kind of like scratched his shield. So I don't know. It may be a good thing. Oh, Rogue. Okay, Rogue is your favorite. Okay. Diamond Patch, the combined character of Emma Frost and Wolverine. And finally, the Pop Ride, Wolverine on his motorcycle. So, one of my favorite X-Men characters, I talked about a lot, but I sometimes like the obscure and crazy ones. And one of my absolute favorite, like lesser known crazy characters is this mutant called Maggot. Weirdest power I've ever seen. So he's from Africa, and he grew up kind of in a not great community. So he was always like struggling, trying to make ends meet, and he was always starved. And every time they fed him, he would always get sick. So like, what's going on with this guy? And when Maggot first appeared in the comics, he was real big and bulky. And he had these two like giant looking maggots. They were organic metal though. And he controlled them. So they would eat anything. Like he would send them out and they would go eat anything. And he was like, and like every time they ate, it added to his bulk. So whatever they consumed, he became stronger whenever they would feed. And people were like, how are you connected to these things? And he called them Eenie and Meenie, like Eenie, Meenie, Mighty Mo. And so when his origin was revealed, come to find out that Eenie and Meenie are part of his digestive tract. So they mutated into actual like these giant organic maggots. So they would crawl out of him and feed, and he would get big, and then they have to go back into him. And it was like a disgusting process. But I had never seen anything like that. And I thought he was a crazy character, one of my most interesting characters. So, what's that, Marshall? Where? I don't see anything. Okay, Marshall said, antimonium is unbreakable, but vibranium can absorb and amplify energy. Yes, true. Some kind of alloy would be nice together. That would be a cool combination to see. You're right, Marshall. So, one last thing on the pop up there. Which one was your favorite X-Men pop out of the ones I showed you? You can always look for these. A lot of these are still available online, in stores. Just do some searching. You should get these different sites. There are plenty of places where you can still get them. But if you want to learn more about the X-Men, there is a video you can watch that I've seen. It's called Every X-Men Ever. Now, the video is 7 years old, so it doesn't give you like up to the modern stuff. But it does start with the beginning and goes forward. It's on YouTube, and it's made by ING. It's called Every X-Men Ever. I show it to my students, and they really love it. But you can get a quick rundown history of the majority of X-Men. And there's one X-Men on there that is so funny. Like I never knew about him. A character named Forget Me Not. his mutant ability is to be forgotten. So he's been around since the beginning of the X-Men, but nobody heard of him because you forget him, which is one of the craziest mutant powers I ever heard of. But forget me not. I'm like, that's the weirdest and strangest thing I've ever heard of a mutation as a power. All right. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Will. I appreciate it, but it does have to end at some point. So I appreciate you all coming with me on this journey and having a good time. It's been fun. I have enjoyed myself, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more alerts. I will catch you all next time, and please leave a comment below. Tell me what you like, what you enjoyed. I have had fun, and I will catch you next time. Peace.